The old abandoned house on the outskirts of town had always been rumored to be haunted. Stories of strange noises, apparitions, and unexplained happenings had circulated for years, but most people dismissed them as mere superstition. However, when a group of curious teenagers decided to explore the house one Halloween night, they discovered that the rumors were all too true. As soon as they stepped inside, they felt a chill in the air, and an overwhelming sense of dread washed over them. The floorboards creaked beneath their feet as they made their way through the darkened hallways, their flashlights barely illuminating the way ahead. Suddenly, a cold breeze rushed past them, extinguishing their lights and leaving them in complete darkness. The group tried to make their way back to the entrance, but they soon realized that they were hopelessly lost. Strange whispers and eerie moans echoed through the house, and they could feel an unseen presence watching them from the shadows. As they stumbled through the darkness, they began to see ghostly apparitions flitting about them. Panic set in as the malevolent spirit revealed itself to them. Its form was nebulous, but it emanated pure evil. The teenagers tried to flee, but the spirit was too powerful, and it soon had them cornered. One by one it possessed them, turning them into its puppets, forcing them to do its bidding. Days passed, and the missing teenagers were never found. The police eventually gave up their search, and the house was left abandoned once again. But the malevolent spirit remained, growing stronger and bolder with each passing year. It lured in unsuspecting victims, possessing them and adding them to its legion of the undead. Years later, a team of paranormal investigators arrived at the abandoned house, drawn by reports of strange happenings and ghost sightings. As they made their way through the dusty rooms, they could feel the malevolent spirit's presence all around them. But they were determined to rid the house of its evil once and for all. They set up their equipment and began their investigation, but the spirit was not pleased. It began to torment them, using its powers to manipulate their thoughts and emotions, driving them to the brink of insanity. They tried to fight back, but the spirit was too powerful, and they soon realized that they were in way over their heads. As they huddled together, desperately trying to come up with a plan, they suddenly heard a voice. It was a voice they had never heard before, deep and powerful, and it seemed to be speaking directly to them. It told them that the only way to defeat the malevolent spirit was to confront it head-on, to face their fears and challenge the evil that had taken hold of the house. With newfound courage, the investigators rallied together and made their way to the room where the spirit was strongest. As they entered, they could feel its anger and frustration, but they were determined not to back down. They called out to the spirit, demanding that it leave the house and return to the darkness from which it had come. At first, there was no response. But then, slowly at first, the spirit began to dissipate. It let out an unearthly shriek as it was banished from the house, its hold on the world of the living broken. The investigators looked around in amazement, seeing the house in a new light. The malevolent spirit was gone, and the old abandoned house was finally at peace. But the memory of the malevolent spirit lingered on, a warning to all who dared to enter its domain. And the investigators knew that they had been lucky to come out alive, for the malevolent spirit was a force to be reckoned with, a malevolent spirit that could not be underestimated. They had faced their fears and emerged victorious, but they knew that others might not be so lucky. They left the abandoned house, vowing never to return, and warning others to stay away. Years passed, and the abandoned house became a legend, a cautionary tale passed down from generation to generation. But despite the warnings, some still ventured into the house, seeking thrills and adventure. And occasionally reports would surface of strange noises and ghostly sightings, a reminder that the malevolent spirit still lingered on, watching and waiting for its next victim. The investigators who had banished the spirit continued their work, traveling the world and investigating other cases of paranormal activity. But they never forgot the malevolent spirit and the lessons they had learned from facing it. They knew that evil existed in the world and that sometimes it had to be confronted head-on. And so they continued their work, facing new challenges and investigating new cases, always aware that the malevolent spirit was just one of many dangers that lurked in the shadows. But they were not afraid, for they had faced their fears and emerged stronger, ready to take on whatever the world had in store for them.